A very good morning for those that are just joining us from wherever you are watching NTV. This is Morning at NTV. We're glad you've chosen us. Now, we are going into our Kickstarter discussion. We shall be discussing the fact that some are questioning whether government alleviation models, poverty alleviation models, are sustainable and where and what should be changed. Just give you a preamble before I introduce my guests. Over the years, the government of Uganda has made notable strides in eradicating poverty since it assumed power in 1986. Household poverty rates have significantly declined from 19.7% in 2013 to 8.4% 2020. However, even with this improvement, Uganda is still considered one of the poorest countries in the world, with a substantial number of citizens living in abject poverty. It's been noted that 41% of the population lives on less than $1.90 a day. Many programs have been lined up to alleviate poverty across the country, but all still in contention for success. Joining me this morning are economic analysts, renowned commentators, Dr. Fred Muhumuza and Dr. Arthur Bainomogisha. Many thanks for joining us, gentlemen. A very good morning.
Good morning, and thanks for having us here.
We come on the backdrop of people beginning to either lose faith or become despondent on the various poverty alleviation programs that have been rolled out. We are seeing the latest that has already gone into a little bit of trouble here and there. But let's first discuss the National Resistance Movement Poverty Alleviation Agenda from 1986. It looked very deliberate. We saw the fits and starts. We saw the realignment, especially after the structural adjustment programs. We saw the Entandikwa programs, Bonnabagaggawale. These have all been, of course, significant in creating the kind of path to economic transformation that President Yoweri Museveni has always talked about. Dr. Fred Muhumuza, I just want you to take us the sustainability of such models. Is there something we are either not getting right, and if you know it, can you point it out to us, and then how best we can move forward?
Yeah, thank you very much. Once again, morning our viewers out there. I think a lot has been done, but the basic line is really to deal with poverty. It takes personal initiative, and you'll hear a lot of mindset change. And people are blaming the poor sometimes for their mindset. And so we invest a lot of money to change their mindset. These are the programs people will put out there. And sometimes it's really that even when you have struggled hard, the markets do matter. And unfortunately, Uganda, we're beginning to see that reversal of thinking, thinking that let's clean up the markets. The other day, last week, I bought 10 pineapples, really, and we've seen this is very common. Everybody has talked about it. 6 pineapples at 10,000. So literally, each pineapple, if you put it at 1,500, you leave 1,000 for the guy who is selling you the pineapples. Because for his transport and his profit. So literally, you bought each pineapple at 1,500. That's in Kampala. So what was the farmer in Masaka paid if the pineapple is 1,500 at the final price? Remember, pineapple takes 18 months. So this guy has spent 18 months trying to earn 300 shillings. You go back and say, what is wrong? So you can see that the conceptualization is really not right on what would make a person get out of poverty.
That's right.
Now, government has narrowed that over the years, that just give people money. But it's not about the person receiving the money. There is more than what the money can do. And we have argued and said that it's not budgets really that make people get out of poverty. It's policies, it's those institutions, and it's strategies. Because it's not even a plan. Now, in Uganda, we really stick to the National Development Plan. But a plan is simply like we have a plan to win the football game. But the strategy you deploy is what is going to give you the mileage. Because what's good to think about the strategy, you can adapt as events come. Now, after COVID hitting us the way it did, and then the war in Ukraine, and then we have drought, and you cannot go back to a plan you made, Vision 2040, and then continue to say, we must do a standard gauge railway. How is that going to help a farmer downtown? How is that going to help somebody who is looking after cows? So there are many other things that you begin to see, that you buy a cow, it gives birth. The assumption is you'll milk, you'll eventually sell that cow, but then before you know it, there are no essential drugs in the health facilities. And your wife needs to deliver. So before you know it, you're selling the cow to take this wife to a private facility.
Right.
Now your entire progress for the last 3 years is wiped out. Now that's why we say, if people in agriculture, health does matter. Education does matter.
It does.
Even as we speak now, people are selling off gardens, flowering coffee and maize which hasn't even flowered. Others are using it as their collateral to say, you see that guy, I'm going to plant maize in March because the children need to go back to school this week.
That's right.
So now that person, even when you come and find they have gardens around them, it's not their garden. They mortgaged it a long time ago. Now we are saying a comprehensive strategy is important. And that's the reason partly people had come up with the Paris development model. 7 pillars, looking at all the things that must be addressed for children not to fall out and of school, people going to hospital not to spend their money there. But now everybody thinks PDM is about pillar number 3. That table has supposed to have 4 legs. These chairs have 4 legs. Remove one, we are going down. So I think that has been the bigger problem, that we're not taking a holistic approach to cover these vulnerable people from all angles so that they stop losing out their money. And we are only counting the monies were put out there, the roads were put out there. Now the roads have completely broken down, but we take nice selfies and good pictures of UNRWA roads. People don't live along the UNRWA road. What is happening with the district roads, the community roads? That's where the farmers are. That's where the goats are. That's where the melon comes from. So you'll find that even as I say this melon or pineapple gets to Kampala at 1,500, the man of the Fuso, what he has gone through to get that pineapple to Kampala, he's going to the garage to spend nothing less than 1.5 million shillings repairing his car because of the bad roads. So now people blame the middleman. So if you do not understand the whole channel, you're not going to be helpful. So I think for me that's the main area that we have not addressed poverty alleviation comprehensively.
Dr. Baino Mugisha, I know you agree very comprehensively with what Dr. Mohamza says, but just follow up on his talks about policies, institutions, and strategy. There seems to be a disconnect where the policies are there, the institutions that are supposed to implement the policies perhaps have a problem, and then it completely flips the strategy for economic transformation.
Thank you very much, producer. I think I agree with my brother, but just to take it a little further, and he alluded to it, the issue of marketing, I think is very, very important.
It's important. Because
we've seen people produce, and then the produce is there and rots there. And yet, actually, see, if we positioned ourselves, this is organic food. Yeah. It's organic fruits that the world needs, that the world craves for, that they would pay so much for it. But because we never, most of the strategies and actually Dr. Mohamza has been involved in designing most of those, they don't lead us to the market. That is very, very important. So marketing is very important. And of course, for me, I've been thinking about regional integration. Even satisfying our regional market, because Uganda is a blessed nation, we can produce almost everything, and the rest of our neighbors need this food, but we don't take it there. And so I think exploring the regional market, of course the international market should come, but marketing is the thing. The second point is value addition, so that you can actually increase the share of life of, these products. And so you are talking about if it is milk, now processing it and getting a host of products from it, including yogurt, including butter, and all those things. That would do. And it doesn't have to be done on large scale. It can be done even at that community level. So value addition is something that we need to invest in seriously. Imagine milk begins to go bad after 3 hours. But we can actually preserve this milk for a very long time. And I think strategies must be made to ensure that actually people at that level, small-scale farmers, have the skill have the infrastructure that they need to process their products and be able then to look for a market even far away. So I'm talking value addition. The other point, of course, education is a very, very important intervention in poverty eradication. With the government coming up with UPE in 1997, a great boost to this country, because gates of education institutions were opened, including liberalization of education, and we saw so many universities open. Remember when we went to university, it was only Makerere University. Now we have almost over 40 universities. But education, how have we handled it? I think we have not. I think one of our challenges is never going, remaining focused to the end. I think some of these interventions have been highly politicized, the politics. So the politics makes you to jump before you achieve this jump. So you have actual interventions, prosperity for all. And actually it will be the same thing. But you see, people come say they even don't think it's the same thing. So I think we need to see to start these interventions and go through consistently, even for 50 years, consistently. Like you see, UPE. Universal primary education, UCE and all that to the end. And of course you are going to, along the way, you need to be perfecting, to improving, because our children started under the what? The trees. And trees, But that was fundamental. It was better than staying at home. Now you are built to say schools. Then you have perfected the schools. But you see now, we did not go all the way, because these schools came up, and then we did not perfect them, and then private schools started just in small rooms, and actually they killed the UPE schools arrangement. That's right. So, but education, which is an investment in human capital, we are talking about knowledge and skills, is the way to turn around, so that actually you equip your citizens with knowledge and skills. The most important resource for any country is not the minerals, it's not this oil. It's not, it is the human capital. Resource. So if you equipped your people seriously, as we had started in 97, completely, and you train them, you give them knowledge and skills, the mindset you are talking about is very, very important.
In fact, I was just learning the other day that Mauritius, which is arguably and statistically the most developed country in Africa, doesn't have any single mineral resources and exports refined sugar, you know, and it has given a lot of attention to human capital development, to the extent that it has come exactly where it is when it comes to the Human Development Index. But Doctor says you're part and parcel of designing many of the policies that we see rolling out. I don't know at what stage or in what capacity. Bring us up to speed with that, and then tell us what you have been able to help design. Why has it not delivered?
I could throw it back at him because he's also part of the policy process. Even where we are now, this is policy making. Really. This is policy making, because policy making involves consultations, involves dialogue. But what we always say, after you have consulted the people and they have given you your views, technical people need to get back and sit to think through. It's just like I go to a doctor, I tell him all my symptoms, then these two doctors will go back, consult a lab technician, and decide and come back and tell me what the issue is. That's right. Now, part of the problem that has gone on in the policy making process in Uganda is so crowded, and everybody who even doesn't know why and what wants to come in there and speak, and as if speaking is okay, but please can you now retreat and we conclude. But the politics brings in populism. Now you want a primary school in every parish. What is the basis? Our initial policy was number of children. Remember, we are giving capitation to schools based on the number of children in that school. That's right. So if a school has very few children, the capitation is going to be very low, and the quality of education is dead at that level. I have a school next in my village. It had 20 children in P7. Government is giving 100 shillings per day per child. So this school, 100 shillings per day, because it was 20,000 per year for primary. You divide that by about 195, 200 days of a school term, 100 shillings a day. So this school was receiving 2,000 shillings per day for this PLOE class. Now, I am not surprised, and these are government aided. Is that aid?
Not.
But that's the policy populism of I want a primary school in every parish. We're like, let these children walk longer. We did.
Yes.
It won't even be that long. That's the policy. So that I need at least 50 children or 70 or 60 in each class.
In each class.
So that a school has about 600 children. Then you can increase the capitation. You begin to get value. But these policies are now being distorted by the populism. You want to know the performance of this class, the 20? 3 got second grade. There was no first.
There was no first.
Another 3 got third grade.
And then
Another 3 got fourth grade. The 11 were unclassified. This is a failure. Now, this is a... When we designed in the 90s poverty eradication action programs, one of the major fundamentals of the Poverty Action Fund, money that will never be cut in the budget to guarantee. But the Poverty Action Fund was not just about giving people handouts. It was looking at health, it was looking at education, it was looking at community roles, it was looking at a number of things were in that program package. Now everybody comes up and says, don't cut my budget, including those who are not in the Poverty Action Fund category.
Yeah.
Why are we doing a standard gauge railway at this point in time? He's talked of movement of goods. Standard gauge railways are about volume and speed. What volumes do you have to pull that on that line? What speed do you need to take coffee? Does coffee need a speed? So you want to first concentrate on producing the coffee itself?
What a question.
First concentrate on producing the coffee itself before you do the means of getting it to Mombasa.
Yes.
He's talking about getting food to the neighbors. Where is the food? And I'm seeing in Tororo they are saying we are going to put bylaws, parents must feed their children. Are you sure there is food at home?
Okay.
If there was food at home, these children would have come with the food.
That's right.
So first solve the food stress and insecure situation in the community. And part of the reason we have food insecurity in the country is because the South Sudanese, the Rwandans, the DRC people, the Kenyans, they just come here and shop like anybody else. And that's a good thing. Because this is access to the market. They are not even asking for you to add value.
That is right.
They say, give me the maize as it is, give me the cow as it is, give me the goat as it is. But they have finished all the food that the season for planting is not yet to start. We don't have food. Now that's a good problem. So rather than beginning to, I don't know, an airline, I don't know what else we want to do, let's first produce the food. You're getting food security, but also you're giving household income to the poor families. And all you now work to work, the price will come up. So I think the policies are being distorted by populism, not just politics, because some of the populist people are not even politicians. They're actually middlemen, what we call bootlickers and corridor influencers. They say, let's buy tractors. Is tractors Uganda's biggest problem? If a poor person can't even buy a hoe of 15,000 and it lasts 2 years, then you have a bigger problem at that level.
Dr. Mugisha, you've been at the helm of civil society, monitoring and evaluation of some of the government programs that are rolled out. Are we faced with a problem where we want to develop but we are not growing, or we want to grow without necessarily developing?
As he said, actually, this is now the stark reality. You see, democracy has its its gains and losses. And part of the populism is talking about that's the cost of sometimes of the freedom or democracy. Actually, people
Bad democracy.
No, it's democracy because you see, you are trying to swim through this freedom they do not have. Actually, people have argued, scholars and analysts, that this country actually was moving very fast up to 2005 when we had a referendum to return multi-party democracy in this country. Of course, now the issue is, do you want like a one-party state, a movement system that was monopolizing the political space, or you want, or you need to pluralism so that everybody is involved in decision making. Yes, but I think, and I think when you look at the development trajectory, then 6.5 from almost 1990s up to 2005, almost 6.5 GDP. Then from 2005 when introduced the multi-party system, actually democracy has gone down, rather development has gone down. On a democracy scale, actually it could also score so high. So many women in parliament, so many members of parliament, over 500 members of parliament, you could score it. But what is
those
that?
are positive growth indicators.
Indicators in terms of political.
But they are quantitative, not qualitative.
And they are quantitative and not qualitative. So it has slowed down our what? Our growth. Why? Because the politicians now, they have to go extra mile. The people became too powerful, and yet they did not have capacity, they did not have the vision of where they are going. But now they have to be bribed. they decide this, and the politicians go there. And unfortunately, actually, the politicians are now led by the people. Populism that is talking about, and that has had a cost on our development. So I think now what we need to do is actually to balance this. Leaders must lead. When you are a leader, God has given you a vision to lead the people. But if you want to be a populist and led by the people are supposed to lead, confusion. So I think democracy has had a cost on that. But
are you suggesting leaders are victims here?
The leaders,
not perpetrators of this kind of bad condition?
It's still a failure on their part to lead, even if you lead for one term.
Okay.
Because you see, you can lead for one term, and then actually they will what? They will not bring you back because you are principled. You drove them to that. But afterwards, actually, they will say, actually, Arthur, during his 5 years, he did this. We can't even bring him back. But people fear to be voted out after 5 years. And so they allow the populists to lead them. And that's why this country is grappling with this. Very good programs, impressive policies remain on the paper. They are never implemented, and no wonder people say that actually policies from Uganda are taken and implemented elsewhere very successful, and we see progress in those countries. So I think there's a need for leadership here. I tell you, without leadership, people perish. So we need leaders to stand out, to stand out and be able actually to lead and not to be led by populism.
Dr. Muhumuza, without looking at mindset change, because many times when people talk about mindset change, they throw the obligation to the people. You know, you begin to assume or even tell the people that, hey, if you can only twitch here and there, then we shall be good to go. And then the people perhaps ignorantly think they are the problem of everything that is happening, when actually they might not necessarily be the problem. How do we move forward on that?
I think the mindset change that needs to change is of the so-called leaders, and I say so-called because not everybody is coming in to lead. We have seen how people aspire to come to parliament, and literally they are trying to come in to earn a living for themselves. So they are not even leaders in the first place, and that space is crowded. But also the technical teams out there. Now you come up and say we are going to build a market, 370 billion buy space for street vendors. No, street vendors are street vendors. They are not market vendors. So if you build a market, they are not coming there.
Yeah, they are street
vendors.
That's right.
So find a way of accommodating them on the street. And because they have a specific niche market that they look for.
That's right.
I'm not going to park my car and then go downtown in Kisenyi to buy a pineapple. To buy water when it is hot in the, but this guy on the window in newspapers. So let's understand those conceptualizations, and then we'll be able to make progress. So if we don't do that, then we're going to end up with poverty saying percentage-wise we have gone down. This is the qualitative indicator. But in absolute numbers, poverty has gone up in Uganda. We're about below in the range of 7 million. Now we are 8.3 million. Poor people, absolute poor people. So while the percentage is going down, the absolute number of poor people is increasing. Absolute number of vulnerable people is increasing. How do you address those issues? Very quickly, in one word, just tell us the difference, poor and broke. We seem to have so many broke people too. Broke can also apply to those who are above $1 a day. You can be broke because I see a lot of people have run short of fuel. Now that guy is not poor. But he just broke at that point in time. He was expecting someone that didn't come through. But the poor are chronically poor, continuously poor, one season after another. That's right. So that's quite of more bigger challenge. Interesting analogy there, and for Ugandans to keep expecting some Kamane. We shall go into a break and continue with the discussion after that. Stay with us. At NTV.
Hello, a very good morning and welcome back from that break. If you're just joining us, welcome on board. We are discussing Uganda's poverty alleviation initiatives and whether they are sustainable or not. And helping us understand matters are doctors Arthur Bainomugisha and Fred Mohomuza, renowned analysts and economic commentators. Before we went for the break, we were discussing everything around money, and of course it is important you have a little bit of money within the pocket. But behind the scenes, I would like to continue a conversation with Dr. Arthur Bainomugisha about democracy and populism and how that is stifling efforts to transform this country. Doctor, over to you.
Thank you very much. I want to make the point about, for example, the abolition of graduated tax.
Yes.
It was a regressive tax. Yes, very hard to administer, expensive to administer, but it had an impact on the production, on the productive forces of this country.
That's right.
Since the abolition of graduated tax and introduction of the indirect tax, people even don't understand that they pay taxes, because there is a relationship between paying a tax and demanding
for
services from government.
Yeah.
So now people think that the government removed it and they did not entitled to anything, yet they pay. But secondly, it had an impact on the production, especially and morality of men. Men, because you see, graduated tax bestowed on men, not manhood, but
an
obligation,
yeah,
but also some consciousness, some status in society.
That is right.
So they would say, I pay my taxes. That one died. But also because of that, most men have taken to drinking. It has even increased the burden on the women who have to do their traditional roles and now roles of taking care of the families. Yeah. And again, coming to the politics and the populism, you don't touch the drunkards. The drunkards actually are the ones now who decide actually they are very influential in electoral victories. But they are doing nothing. They are redundant, and most of them actually becoming mad, running mad and running down their families. So for me, there is a need for regulation on the alcoholism that is running down this country.
Alcohol consumption is taking down the country.
It's taking down the country into absolute poverty. So for me, I think government needs, and again, of course, sometimes it's a balancing act. The politicians may fear that if they touch that area, that they will lose their support. But I'm telling you, this is now a matter of choice to do development or sinking into poverty. I think there is a need for regulation. We are not saying that we abolish decriminalize consumption, but it needs to be regulated. Because the majority of our youth, even young people, able-bodied men, have taken on to drinking anytime. At 7 o'clock, people are already drunk. So what are they producing? What are they consuming? They neither produce, they neither consume. So I think as a country, and their majority, they are able-bodied. So government needs to do something about that. But I also think that there's a need for introducing some form of tax. Not the other one which was regressive, but some form of tax so that people can attach value to themselves and actually even demand, because there's that the civic consciousness, the civic competence of citizens to demand services from government, and then government can supply because they have also paid something. So some form of taxation needs to be introduced to put people to work again, because I think the problem is that we are not working. People who are working are very few, but who are eating are very many.
And they're also earning very little, those that work. Just take us through the regulatory framework in Uganda on not only alcohol, but most of the products and services that we consider essential. The other day, there was a story in the media and on social media about pesticides. The agricultural space is infiltrated and inundated with so many fake and counterfeit pesticides and other products. People are completely confused at what to take and what not to take. They don't know the difference. What is the regulatory framework on alcohol and some of those issues, or products rather?
You're talking of alcohol. I don't know why you gave us these high table chairs, but thank God you didn't bring the high tables. People would think after here we're going into the drinking.
Absolutely not.
But as the regulation and the regulatory framework, as you said, sometimes I don't believe we have very good policies, but sometimes we do. Now, a regulation is not what you write, it's what you actually do. There is a lot of regulation that actually happens even when it's not even written.
That's right.
Now, the enforcement of regulations is a nightmare. The penalties sometimes are even out there that enforcement is failed. You saw Nema, they were saying if you don't have a dustbin, 6 million. Now, some of the cars we are driving are not even worth 6 million. I will leave you with a car rather than pay a fine of 6 million. So sometimes you don't want to come with an axe to kill a fly.
Interesting.
But neither do you want to let those flies roam around. So I think we have had a lot of laxity on matters of regulation.
Yeah.
That people do whatever they want to do, and there's no one in charge. And remember, for us, I go and buy a drug from a pharmacy. I'm trusting government, National Drug Authority.
That's his way.
Have really taken care. Because I don't know what I am buying. It can be poisoned, it can be expired, but I know somebody is doing that.
Yeah, somebody has
now,
done
we have done very well, progress relatively very well on the human drug side. But elsewhere, crop and animal
and crop
is a nightmare. And you wonder what is happening there. And this is partly what is even keeping people poor. Because you send your relative money to buy seed. They buy the seed. Now the seed is not seed. It's fake.
Yeah.
Even when they have planted, they want to fight the pests and diseases. They go and buy a herbicide. Again, you send them money. Because you know, if you don't send them money, they are going to ask you for money.
They're going to
so like, let me send a little so that we can kill the pests. These people will have their food.
And
then they spray and then they come back, the thing doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
As my friends in Radio Symbol, you say you spray and the insects are like, oh, thank you very much, we're feeling very dry. You have just given us some cooling effect. So who is going to regulate that space?
Yeah.
What is the enforcement nature? And that's why I was saying the enforcement should not be at the headquarters. You want it at the local government. Strengthen the local governments.
Yes.
The taxes he's talking about, graduated tax, was not enforced from the center, not even from district headquarters. The Mtongole chief on the ground. So where is the Mtongole chief who is going to gather information and say, 7 people have complained about the acaricide they bought from this drug provider or agro dealer. Where do you get your things? That agro dealer must be arrested. He must show us the entire chain or wherever it has come from.
Okay.
But now, the moment you relax at the grassroots level, then you are going to have fake things come through. You can go from the center once on roll and toll and check. But we have a problem, and that is crippling our people. So the failure of the poverty eradication programs is also partly because government hasn't done its part to secure, as I've said, ecosystem.
All right, gentlemen, I'll be digging a little bit deeper into the regulatory framework in the country when it comes to many of these sectors, but allow us go to Kisenyi, where our very own Stephen Mbide is standing by. Last night, there was a huge fire that gutted some of the establishments there, and of course, the maize millers are affected, and many are crying foul. Losses have been registered, both property and, of course, a lot of other things that there. Stephen Mbide, very good morning.
Chris, it's not really a good morning down here in the heart of the city. I'm coming to you from Kisenyi. This is a very sad morning because the tragedy befell the people of Kisenyi here in the meeting side of Kisenyi. Those who are meeting maize flour, those who are meeting this side of fish. There, what you see there on your screen are the people trying to get what remained of the fire that broke out. According to some eyewitnesses, some are saying that the fire broke out around 4 a.m. while others are saying it broke out at 2 a.m. But what is for sure, what you can understand for now is that where your eyes can stop seeing the extent of the damage, that's how bad it is. You can see now on the screen is what is left of the fish, almost mukene ye yagwereddewo ddala ddala. Abantu bali maziga amerere. The fire and rescue services of the Ghana police were also here as early as possible, but they couldn't contain this heavy fire. It's not yet understood what was the cause of this fire, but at least the fire and rescue services are on the ground. I'll be speaking to some of the people here who will be letting me know. Of course, some of them have lost their property, and others are trying to understand what they lost. At least this place of Kisenyi is just next to, directly opposite Christianity Focus Center, and I can also see the senior pastor, Bishop David Livingstone Chiganda, is also here, just overseeing what is remained of his neighbors. These are some of the people who watch from his church. Is there putting on that black cape and he's here witnessing what was left here. Also the police and Umeme officials here, Umeme staff are also here to see at least be part of the investigations on what was the cause of the fire. These are Umeme staff, but also the police is here on standby. Kansoke mbuzeeko omukulu ono kubanga alabikanga y'omu ku bakolera wano. Sebo kituufu? Wazze buzikulaba? Aha, ng'otuse wano saameka kiki olabye?
Nakatuuka wano mbeende by'omuliro kusanya ebintu by'abantu so nayina okutumizibwa munonga mali y'abantu eweddewo.
Kansoke nguzeeko the other side where a team of the fire and rescue service, they have brought here over 10 trucks of water to contain the fire. But I can tell you, even if the fire broke out at 2 a.m. or 4 a.m., still they are not yet able to put out the fire. This team is very, very busy here from as early as the wee hours of the day. Let me also get closer to the people, at least whom I believe some of the people working around this place. They're across the road here because police has already put a barricade here. They cannot access these premises. I can also confirm that some people have been beaten by the police because they were trying to take away what was left here from the maize flour, the maize, the beans, and mukene. Kamba semberere abantu bano bayinza okubanga obaoli awo be bamu kubakolera wano. Njagala okumanya waliwo abakolera wano eno bambulire. Gulawo okolera wano. Njagala okumanya bakolera wano be njagala okwogerako nabo. Oba balina kye balabye ku muliro guno. Okolera wano.
Tewalise. Sibaddewo n'akajja.
Okay. Njagala kulaba abo abakolera wano eno bokka be njagala bwe bambulire bo. Maam, okolera wano? Tokolera wano. Okay. Njagala kulaba just bokka abakolera wano. Brother ogamba otya? Okolera wano? Okolera wano. Wadde ozeebu zikola ki kigenda maaso? Okay. But what I can confirm to you live here on Morning at 10 TV that there are so many people here, down here in Kisenyi, where the fire broke out in the wee hours of the morning. The police is here to make guard and make sure that no one at least crosses this barricade here. But as far as your eyes can go, that is the extent of the damage. I'm told this property worth billions of shillings has been lost, but also I'm told there are some injuries, at least from this fire. We are not yet sure whether there is anyone who lost the life in this inferno that broke out in the wee hours of the morning. Kansemberere abantu bana bakkiriziddwa okuyingira. Kirabika nga bo bamanyikiddwa nti bakolera wano kubanga olaba poliisi bakkiriza okuyingira osanga ba mu kitundu kino. Let me get closer to them. Bambulire nnyabo nga kibi nnyo ekibatuuseeko.
Bannange kibi tusigaliddewo. Nze badde nkolera wano we mbadde nkolera naye bankubidde essaawa 11 ne baŋŋamba nti omuliro gukutte ne ndowooza nti osanga tunaafuna obuyambi ne tufuna ku bino ebibadde wano ebweru naye tetulina kye tuggyeewo wadde akatini bwe kati.
Ogandina ky'oggyeewo badde okolerawo gwe kiddala kyo?
Badde ntunda mmere ya nkoko.
Obadde nga limu musene nga mmeka ubaliriramu? Singa omuntu abanga agereza agamba nti oba gavumenti oba muntu yena muduukirize agamba kujja kudduukirira gulowooza mali badde musene nga mmeka?
Banaye simanyi kubanga tubaddemu n'ebintu bingi. Biri mu bukadde kuba tulina ne zirooni.
Ebifo bino bikolebwa abantu nga bameka ssebo?
Amanya gayinza Agnes Nakandi.
Kifo kino kino kirimu abantu nga bameka?
Abantu bayitirivu okuva wali okutuuka wano buli omu makaga.
Mulimu n'ababeeramu naye tuli bangi abantu abakolerawo tuwera abantu simanyi na kumanya abantu kuba waliwo ebyuma bya kasooli, waliwo ebyuma bya muwogo, waliwo buli kimu tetumanyi oba bali bameka. Haji goyinza okumanya abantu.
Sisobola kumanya kati obwongo bulowooza ku kicu kati.
Sisobola na kubategeera.
Mu mbeera eno muliro guze gubaawo njukira mu October 2019 wano mu Kisenyi wabaawo omuliro, mu November 2020 wabaawo omuliro, 2022 mu January era wabaawo omuliro mu Kisenyi. Si wano wenyine mu kitundu kino ekya Kisenyi. Ate tuzirwa wano omuliro gubeera eri mu Ndeeba, Nalukolongo, mu Wino. Omuliro guno buzibuli olowooza obunafu bulimu ffe ng'abantu abakolera mu bitundu bino oba waliwo obunafu mu bakulembeze kulaba nga wabaawo kino okuba nga kikolebwa?
Obunafu mbulaba mu bakulembeze kubanga obuliro bwokya awantu baba beetaagawo naye singa ffe ng'abapangisa bakeera enkya ne batugamba nti wano waliwo enkaayana muveewo mugyewo ebintu byammwe mutambule mugende ffe tuba tuvaawo naye tebatubuulira obunafu buli mu bakulembeze ebintu ebimu basobola obitegera ne batatubuulira ne tufiirwa bufiirwa ffe twava eri gye twali tubeera eri mu market view ne batugamba muveewo ne tusenguka bulungi ne bamenya bulungi ne tudda wano tuleka twali tumazeewo emyezi nga 8 naye nawo singa batubuulira nti abaaye wano twetaagawo ne tuvaawo tetusobola kulemerawo naye tetulina kye tulonzeemu yadde 5 ku bukadde n'obukadde obuli awo nga tulina mu zibbanka.
Kibi nnyo ekituuse ku bantu b'omu Kisenyi. The inferno here broke out, according to eyewitnesses, that the inferno broke out around 4 a.m. and some are saying around 2 a.m. Naye bw'otunula oludda luli abantu bangi ddala abakyagendera ddala maaso n'okubanga bajja abamu bakolera wano bawulidde bulizi ekyabatuuseeko ate abalala babadde bazze buzi kulaba biki ebituuse wano mu Kisenyi. But this is in Central Division of Kampala, and here almost you can say it's the heart of the city. Ngenda kutuukako ne ku bantu bano abali oludda luno, abamu kubo bakolera wano, abamu kubo bagani bazze buzikulaba, naye nga njagala okumanya abantu bakolera wano bwe banga ddala balina ebintu bibafiiriddwa, biki bibafiiriddwa. Ogamba otya ssebo?
Ndi ssebo gye baliko ssebo.
Nawe okolera wano bozze buzikulaba?
Nze nkolera wano ssebo.
Obadde okolawo ki?
Wano ssebo ffe tuli bakozi ba mu byuma ebikuba akawunga wali eri bakozi bamu mu byuma ssebo, naye era tukubayoko n'obuwunga nganze nange neeyiyamuko mpolampola nenkubayo obuwunga bwange butonotono twetenkanya ssebo, naye ng'obuwunga bungi busaanyiziddwawo nnyo kubanga kati this time obuwunga bubadde buli kulinnya kasooli amabega akawunga kabadde ku layisi kati akawunga kabadde kali kulinnya kati kasooli engeri gyabadde
kulinnya omuntu atamanyi bulungi kifaananyi kalinyira okuba amasomero gabadde gaguddewo kiki
amasomero gabadde gaguddewo naye waawe gaguliddewo ng'akawunga kalimu ku layisi naye kati akawunga kabadde kali kulinnya kati buli muntu abadde ali kugula kasooli owa layisi akyali mu layisi kati kasooli agende okulinnya obulungi nga buli omu alina emmaali era ebyuma byonna bibadde bikubyeko kati kasooli n'akawunga byuma bantu bangi bafiiriddwa emmaali.
Kati mmanyi nti wano wabaawo ebijanjaalo, wabaawo kasooli, omwogo, bintu ki ebirala bibadde bikolebwa ne ku Mukene?
Kati wano ebintu ebisinze okufa kubanga kati wano twasalamu obutundu, mmere ya nkoko n'akawunga kennyini. Akawunga kennyini kano ketukuba posho n'emmere y'enkoko bibadde eno area bye bisinze okwonoonebwa. Ebijanjaalo byo tebibaddeemu nnyo kubanga bibadde eri bimanga, naye akawunga kennyini posho n'emmere y'enkoko bye bisinze okwonoonebwa wano kubanga n'obuseera obwo byonna ne bisinze okwonoonebwa wano.
Tulabye abakulembeze badde bajja nnyo nga mu bifo ebibuddemu obutyabaga, bamatabo baki bamuliro, waliwo abakulembeze bonna batuuseeko wano. N'ekirala bwebanga badde bakujja mu abantu b'omu Kisenyi abakolera wano mulowooza kiki badde bakolawo okulaba nga badduukirira abantu b'omu Kisenyi abagwiriddwako embeera eno etuuseewo?
Bandibadde kubanga omuliro gwatandise ssaawa 10, nze mbadde nsula wennyini awo waggulu. Lwakuba ate omuliro gwatandise ku ssaawa 10 twafubye nnyo kuyita abantu batuyambe lwakuba batuuse leeti, emmotoka zazze tezirina mazzi, tufiiriddwa ebintu byaffe, abantu bafiiriddwa ebintu bingi. Naye kennyini mbaddemu n'abaana n'omukyala awo nga wensula nga wenkolera ate wennyini awo.
Abaana n'omukyala bavuddemu nga bali bulungi?
Bo abaana bange bonna mbataasizza lwakuba ebintu byange byonna tewali kyenjigyemu, nfiiriddwa ebintu byange bingi gyesimanyi wengenda okukola okubizzaawo kubanga ati wano mukulembeze yenna wali yehazeewo kulaba muntu mbati tikiki.
Kakati gwe ababo bavudde bulungi, wonna b'otegeddeko abalumiziddwa bafudde?
Waliwo be bempuliddeko emmanju, babadde eri emmanju bempuliddeko mbu waliwo omwana afiiriddeyo gwe sirabyeku lwakuba timpulidde mbati gyali n'abalala gye bali bwe bafunye ebiwundu.
Kati waliwo ategeddeko omuliro guno kyeguvuddeko nga tumaliriza emboozi eno, waliwo ategedde omuliro guno kyeguvuddeko ono mu Kisenyi? Totegedde? Waliwo ategeddeko? About this fire, do you know anything that could have caused this fire?
The cause ekivuddeko omuliro guno okukwata naye kikimanyiridde kuba kati naffe tubadde waka ne batugamba ebintu byabwe bikoze ki biweddewo. kati kiriko nti
Tugenda, of course, we shall keep you updated on what happens here in Kisenyi after the fire broke out as early as 4 a.m. according to eyewitnesses. But for now, we shall be turning to studio because Priscilla Regina Naroga is in the studios with Chris Igenyi for the rest of the programming. I'll be coming later on with my colleagues here, Andrew Rwanga and Raymond Tamale. We shall be updating you on the subsequent news, that is NTV Akawungezi, NTV Tonight, and of course live at 1. This is Stephen Mbide on Fefeswe Chibuga, handing you back to studio. It's so unfortunate what happened here in Kisenyi. Back to you, Chris and Priscilla Regina.
Oh yes, very unfortunate indeed, the loss of property there in the fire that guarded some section of Kisenyi, where of course a lot of animal feeder products are sold. Let me return to my two panelists this morning, economists, and they should be able to tell us what I saw personally there was the state of our economy.
Yes.
You know, the informal sector is very huge, and it accounts for much of the money that we have as a country. But a crisis like that happening, you saw one of the ladies asked, does she know what she has lost? She said Simanyi. But I want to believe that her Simanyi is not actually a lack of knowledge of the extent of loss, but it is an expression of how a dire situation she and her colleagues who may be owning lockups or workshops and other supply centers there, the extent of loss. Tamanyi, as in she just doesn't know what to do right now because there's a lot. Just take us through what you saw and what you make of it.
I think it's really a question of leadership and planning, because you want to come and do a survey among those people. Where do you get your inputs from? You process here. Where do you sell?
That's right.
Do you therefore have to be here, or can you be elsewhere? Because I can understand Kisenyi in the 60s, 70s and 80s.
That's right.
But sure, at this point in time, I don't understand why Kisenyi is still in that same place. It can be elsewhere. And we've seen other people who are doing the food industry relocate themselves elsewhere. We all have eaten and tasted yoga chick. Where are they? Gaya's side.
Yeah.
Supreme wheat flour, where is it? Busega. So leadership can come in and say, you guys, and there was a fire there, Salabedi, I remember, musical equipment.
That should have been 7 years ago.
Are these guys insured? The insurance companies have been growing and struggling to insure such kinds of things, insure against fire. Now, where is the leadership? But also, if you come to insure those fellows,
the informal sector is very difficult.
You will not, it's very difficult, even the risk that is actually going to happen.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be an insurance company and you're assuring what you know has a certainty to happen. You want to insure them saying, if fire comes, what measures have you put in place? So that you also help them. So it is that kind of comprehensive planning and records. There was a good game last night in America, and I think it has just ended. And guys are saying...
The Super Bowl?
The Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I liked the statistics. $60 billion have been done on betting.
Yeah.
And many Ugandans, apart from drinking alcohol, have gone into betting.
Into betting, yeah.
They are saying they are going to eat 30 million burgers. And over 1.3, I think 13 billion chicken wings. Now, what's the importance of these numbers? That people know what is happening, including the taxman.
Yeah.
Now, in Uganda, if a woman like that doesn't know what she has lost, how can a taxman know
what to
when
assess,
you come, what to assess and what to tax? But that is the state of our economy. You don't blame that woman, you don't blame anybody. Leadership.
Dr. Benomugisha.
No, thank you very much. First, my heart goes out to the traders that have lost a lot, billions of money, especially the maize millers, and as Dr. Mumza has alluded to, food insecurity still rooms on this, in this country.
That's right.
The region is hungry. They've taken most of our food. So actually in the coming months, we may be experiencing some food shortages, and now our stocks are burnt. So my heart goes out to you. But I think I also want to agree on the issue of planning. I think, and of course, this is the Minister of Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. You shoulder this, but of course KCC also. I think there's a need. Yeah, there is need for leadership here. Kampala, I think 40% of Kampala is planned. We must plan our city. We must be proud of a city. Plan it. Even when we can't plan with actually what was there, but plan it, relocate people, And as you said, government must take leadership. Plan for this country. If it's agriculture, let's have agriculture produce in one place, the inputs in one place. Let's decongest the city. Let's open up the city.
Because just like that, just to hammer it home. For example, if you said that poultry farm inputs, including food and everything that is required, agriculture, the factory or the estate or the supply center is in Bweyogerere. For whoever wants anything else that concerns either, medicine, herbal, goes to Busega. There is a set area, and then these places get out of the city, so that
and you can have retailers, which can be sites like where is beer made, where is Coca-Cola made, one place, and then there are distribution points, even Total for fuel. They're in a certain place for such massive production.
That's right.
You need it in a planned space, then plan a distribution network to different parts of the city and the country.
And once you do that, actually you will see even domestic resource mobilization will increase. You plan it, you will increase your revenue, but also the informality. The informality must reduce in this country. So you see, people must know actually their business. They must formalize their business. And of course, there's a problem here. People fear to pay taxes. And that's why they
who doesn't, even the rich are cheating taxes.
They want to fear, they fear, and they're keeping their businesses informal so that you can dodge. But I tell you, it is more costly because like now they are not insured.
They are not insured.
They cannot even tell government we have lost so much so that you can be compensated. Politically, actually, they could make a political case and Parliament would look. But how much? The leader says Simanyi. So what are they? What is the basis for compensation? So I think Ugandans, time has come that let's actually formalize our businesses, and then of course the issue of the tax that cuts, that hurts, we can take it to Parliament through our members of Parliament. That's an issue that we can engage government in order to create conditions for growth.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Arthur Bainomugisha. Allow Dr. Fred Muhumuza to wrap this up and tell us if there is any hope in the budget framework paper we should look forward to.
I think, as I've said, budgets are not the ones that solve the problems. It is what plan is the budget helping you to implement.
That's right.
And this is the kind of things that you're seeing here. So you want to get back and say, what are the plans? What are the strategies? Then the budget will speak. So quite often I hear people, the main thing people are putting in there how the budget cut. But what are you doing? The budget is not unlimited. Economics is about scarcity. And therefore, where there is scarcity, we take choices. Where there are choices, there are opportunity costs. So there's definitely going to be shortfalls of revenues. The question is where you put that revenue. Is that the most important place you wanted to put your revenue in? We need to understand we are running an informal economy. It's not going to change in the next 20 years. So the question now is, can we understand the informality? Because if you have 1.8 million children joining primary and only 800 seat and only 240 pass, all these are going to be in the informal sector. They will never know how to make records of books and anything, but they will be doing their business. That woman is very business-minded. She has been running her business very well. She may not know the details. So informality just needs to be understood. Then gradually you begin to formalize a few processes. And I see how we are defining informality in the poverty status report. Are you registered with URA? Are you registered with URSB? That's not the formality. not the formalization. Formalization is, do you know how much you save? Can you have your records? So that a banker can look at them and say, oh, this business, I want to lend you money. We also need to mindset change for the technocrats. All
right, Dr. Fred Muhumuza, many thanks for the perspective and insight on how sustainable economic models should be in ensuring that we alleviate the specter of poverty in the country. We were also joined by Dr. Arthur Bainomugisha, and of course he came in very handy there on how best we can put democracy and populism on the pedestal and understand where each falls in order to move forward as a country. I hope the debate and the discussion has emboldened your understanding of matters and that you can be able to make the best of decisions on individual level to help this country move forward. We shall now be going for a break. When we return, my colleague Priscilla Regina Naloga shall be at hand to bring you up to speed with World Epilepsy Day, how to deal with the condition, dispelling the myths and misconceptions about the disease. Do stay with us.